So hello, welcome to reading class. So let me introduce you to TOEFL reading. So TOEFL reading is the first section for the real test. So let's talk about TOEFL reading even more. So first, in TOEFL reading, you need to answer three sets of passages. For each passages, you'll be answering each passages in 20 minutes. So 3 passages, 20 minutes, so we'll be having a reading section for an hour. Okay, so let's talk about what's in the reading passages. So after you read these passages, you'll be asked questions. So normally, you'll be given 13 to 14 questions per passage. Okay, now talking about questions, in TOEFL reading, in all types of TOEFL classes, there are question types. Okay, and then let's go to question types. First, vocabulary. Vocabulary, the meaning of the word, how it is being used in a sentence in different contexts. Okay, now how does it appear in a reading passage? First, for example, the question appears like, normally, questions or vocabulary questions are highlighted. Okay, so X here represents the highlighted word. For example, the word X, the word, highlighted word, in the passage is closest in meaning to, you'll be given 4 questions. Now remember, in vocabulary questions, though you know the meaning of the word, meaning in English, there are different meanings of the word depending on the usage and the context, so be careful. So the best way to answer this one is context clues. You need to understand the questions properly. That's vocabulary type of questions. Normally, there will be 4. The maximum number of vocabulary questions will be 4. The minimum will be 2. So if you know the questions, if you know these vocabulary words, that's a bonus point for you. Okay, now let's go to reference. Normally, reference questions are the easiest one, I guess. Reference because you need to refer all those the relationship of the words. For example, I'll give you an example. Reference question appears, for example, the words appears like pronouns. Example. Okay, like vocabulary type of questions, highlighted. Pronouns are highlighted. Okay, so for example, the word X in the passage refers to, normally X would represent, for example, their, her, theirs, and all types of pronouns. Okay, you need to identify which of these pronouns refer to in the latter sentences, latter words. So you need to identify its relationship. What is the word that represents these pronouns? Relationship. In order for you to answer this one, it's just to understand the passage properly. Okay, that's reference number 2. Now let's go to factual information. From the word factual, you need to identify facts in the passages. Okay, you need to identify what are being stated in the passage, and then you'll be answering questions. Now, like the other question types, how does it appear in the passage? For example, the author's description of X in paragraph, for example, 1, description of X in the past paragraph 1 states which of the following. Okay, so X may be a word, a phrase. So in order for you to understand or to answer this one, is you need to find what are the facts which are explicitly stated in the passage. Again, you'll be given 4 choices. Normally, there are some questions which are very confusing, but you need to understand and you need to remember that you need to identify what is explicitly stated. It is stated. You can read it in the passage. Understood? Now, let's go to the other one. Negative factual. Negative factual information is totally the opposite of factual information. You need to know, or you need to identify which statement is not located or could not be found in the passage. Negative factual. Now, how does it appear in the reading passage? The author's description of X in paragraph 1 states all of the following. And then there's except. Okay? Now, the author's description of X in paragraph 1 states all of the following, except. So we'll be given 4 questions, 4 choices, and you need to identify just one. Okay? If it's not stated in the passage, then automatically that's the wrong answer. Okay? Negative factual. Okay, now let's go on to the 5th one, sentence simplification. Now, sentence simplification, to make it shorter, sentence simplification is paraphrasing. Now, in the passage, you will see a highlighted sentence. Now, what will you do with a highlighted sentence? You need to identify which of the 4 choices best expresses the best paraphrased form of the sentence, highlighted sentence in the passage. Okay, now what you need to remember in answering sentence simplification, you'll be given 4 choices. Now, in the 4 choices, these are all paraphrased, but not all are the best paraphrased form. There are paraphrased sentences which are very far from the meaning of the highlighted sentence. Now, you need to understand it has the best meaning, where all the necessary components of the highlighted sentence should be there. And if it's there, then that's the proper answer. Sentence simplification or paraphrasing. Okay, now let's go to the 6th one. Inference. You need to infer. How do you infer? You gather all the information you had in the passage and arrive in a conclusion, in an opinion. Now, you just don't give an opinion. You give an opinion based on the facts you've gathered on the passage. Inference question is, I guess, the trickiest part of TOEFL reading question types, because the answers are not explicitly stated in the passage. You need to infer. You need to give an opinion, but based on the information you've gathered. Now, how does it appear in the reading passage? For example, which of the following can be inferred about X? Okay, X is a word in a paragraph. Okay, now X here may be a phrase, a phrase or a word, and then you need to know what can you infer about these words in the paragraph. Now, it's kind of difficult, but the key to answering this one is that you need to understand the meaning of the paragraph. You need to understand how it is being used, and you need to understand that the meaning of it. And I guess another tricky part of this one is that they'll be given 4 choices. Some are factual. You need to understand it. It is not stated in the text. The answer is not stated in the text. It's inferring, it's an opinion, but based on the information you've gathered. That's inference. Now, let's go to rhetorical purpose. Rhetorical purpose, or the purpose. the purpose of the word. Why is it there? Okay? Why did the author mention this? Okay? Why did the author mention X? A word or a phrase. Now you'll be given 4. Now, the choices are a bit different. For you to know that it's a rhetorical purpose type of question is that in the choices, you'll be seeing verbs. For example, to explain, to mention, to prove, to identify. All are verbs. What is the purpose of the author in mentioning a specific word? Now, to answer this one, you need to understand how is it being used in the passage. For example, is it being stated there to explain, to mention, to prove, to identify? Now, even just reading the verbs here, you will know that it is the purpose of the word there is it to explain, to mention, to prove, or to identify. Okay? Now, if for example, you do the elimination type of answering. For example, you're torn between choosing A and D. It's very close. It's very close. Now you need to read the succeeding words in the statement. Okay? Then you will identify if what's the real purpose of the author in mentioning this one. Okay, now we're done. Now, we go to the next one. Insert text. Very clear. You need to insert a text. Now, as you can notice in the passages there are boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the questions, there will be a text. A sentence. And your task is to fit it in the 4 boxes. Where in these boxes will it best fit? Okay? Now, tips on how you answer this one. Now, you need to remember, first thing, you need to identify transition words. Transition words, what are transition words? In addition, next, secondly, all of those. Another example. For example, that one. For example. And then, you need to identify the relationships of these words in here. Now, for you to identify if it's the right answer, when you read the whole paragraph, there's smooth flow. You understand the passage, it's clear. It's not disturbing to read. Okay? Now just identify the relationships of these words. Does it give an example? If you happen to see a transition word in the beginning part, is it best fit for the first one? Then that's how you do insert text. You need to insert text. Okay, now we go to prose summary. Now prose summary is a bit difficult than the other one, and it has most points. It could give you 2 points for prose summary. Now, prose summary from the word summary. Now you'll be reading a sentence here. For example, you'll be reading a sentence here in a box. This sentence summarizes the passage. It has all the necessary information, all the themes in the passage. Now your task is to choose among 6 supporting details or sentences. Now, among these 6 choices, you need to choose 3. Now, how will you choose the 3? You need to know, or you need to understand the prose first. And after you understood the prose, then you will identify which of these three, which among these six talks about the main themes in the passage? Okay, now you need to identify there are major details and minor details. You need to identify the three major details. Okay, if it talks about the theme of the passage, then it's the major detail. And another one is if it supports the themes presented in the prose summary, then it's the best answer. You need to choose three. Okay, you need to choose three. Identify which part is major detail and which part is a minor detail. Okay, now we go to the last one, fill-in table. Now, fill-in table rarely appears in reading passage. But fill-in table will give you 2 to 3 points. Now, fill-in table would take a lot of time. Now, what will you do in fill-in table? You need to fill in necessary information in a table. One example, one type is cause and effect and effect. If prose summary has 6 choices, fill-in table has 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, you need to just choose 5. For example, cause has 3. You need to choose 3. Effect has 2. Or the reverse one. Now that's cause and effect. Another type is there are necessary information in the box. Necessary for example, topic. There are words in the passage which is in here, and you need to identify which best explains this one. For example, I'll give you an example. Fill-in table question, for example, Egyptians, Sumerians, Incas. For example, the passage is talking about ancient civilization, and there are 3 examples: Egyptians, Sumerians, and Incas, and all of these are necessary information about these civilization, and you need to identify which would best fit. So 5, still 5. For example, there are 2 for Egyptians, 2 for Sumerians, and 1 for Incas. And there are 2 wrong answers. Okay? The best way for you to answer this one, go back to the passage again. And then remember, understand the passage properly. Where would it best fit? So it's 2 to 3 points, so it's very crucial how to decide which is the best part. So those are the 10 basic question types in reading. Now, what's the importance of learning the question types? We can just answer it properly. You need to understand question types because it will give you a hint on how to answer it easily. It's like a shortcut to answer it easily. So understanding the question types will give you lesser time because it's just 20 minutes. It's a very long passage. So understanding the question types will give you a hint on how to answer it properly, how to answer it effectively, and how to answer it the correct way. So that's TOEFL reading. Bye.